Welcome to the e-content series of environmental sciences. Today we will discuss about ecological pyramids. The term ecosystem was proposed by A.G. Tansley in 1935, who defined it as the system resulting from the integration of all the living and non-living factors of the environment. Therefore, any unit that includes all the organisms, that is the communities in a given area, interact with the physical environment so that a flow of energy leads to clearly defined trophic structure, biotic diversity and material cycle within the system is known as an ecological system or ecosystem. The most obvious interaction between organisms in an ecosystem is feeding, during which one organism is obtaining food, energy and raw materials from another one, but then may itself be food for third species. This sequence of eating and being eaten in an ecosystem is known as food chain. Food chains in natural conditions never operate as isolated sequences, but are interconnected with each other through different types of organisms at different trophic levels, forming some sort of interlocking pattern which is referred to as a food web. Each step in a food chain or a food web is called a trophic level. In complex natural communities, organisms whose nourishment is obtained from sun through same number of steps are said to belong to the same trophic level. Thus, green plants occupy the first trophic level, herbivores occupy the second level. Similarly, primary carnivores occupy the third level and secondary carnivores occupy the fourth trophic level. Now, ecological pyramids. The interaction of the food chain phenomenon and the size metabolism relationship between the linearly arranged various biotic components of an ecosystem results in communities having a definite trophic structure, which is a characteristic of each type of an ecosystem. Trophic structure can be measured and described either in terms of the standing crop per unit area or in terms of the energy fixed per unit area per unit time. The trophic structure and function at successive trophic levels, that is producers, herbivores and carnivores, may be shown graphically by means of ecological pyramids. The concept of ecological pyramid was developed by Charles Alton in 1927, and after his name these are also called as Altonian pyramids. It is a graphical representation which depicts the number of organisms, biomass and productivity at each trophic level. Or ecological pyramids are the graphs which illustrate the trophic levels in a community, beginning with the producers at the bottom and proceed through different trophic levels forming the apex. Food chains and food webs provide qualitative information about an ecosystem. They do not give any information about the numbers of organisms involved, which can be shown through ecological pyramids. Thus, an ecological pyramid is a diagram that shows the relationship amounts of energy or matter contained within each trophic level in a food chain or a food web. Now, ecological pyramids are of three general types. First, pyramid of numbers. These pyramids show the relationship between producers, herbivores and carnivores at successive trophic levels in terms of their number. They show the number of organisms in each trophic level and do not take into consideration the size of the organisms and overemphasize the importance of small organisms. The pyramid of numbers forms different shapes in different ecosystems depending upon the organisms involved in food chain. For instance, in grassland ecosystem, the producers, which are mainly grasses, are always maximum in number and form the base of the pyramid. In this pyramid, the higher up one moves, each consecutive level or trophic level contains fewer organisms than the level below it, as the primary consumers or herbivores like rabbits, mice, etc. are lesser in number than the grasses. Similarly, at secondary consumer level are snakes, lizards, which are lesser in number than rabbits and mice. Finally, the tertiary consumers like hawks or other birds are least in number and hence the pyramid becomes upright. Likewise, in case of pond ecosystem, the number of organisms decreases while moving through successive trophic levels from producers like phytoplankton to top carnivores like large fish, making the pyramid upright. However, in a forest ecosystem, the pyramid of numbers is somewhat different in shape. The producers, which are mainly large sized trees, are lesser in number and form the base of the pyramid. The herbivores, which are the fruit eating birds, elephants, deer, etc., are more in number than the producers and form the much broader middle level. Then there is a gradual decrease in a number of secondary consumers like wolves, snakes, and tertiary consumers such as lion, making the pyramid again upright. Thus, the pyramid of numbers in a forest ecosystem is neither upright nor inverted. Further, in a parasitic food chain, the pyramids are always inverted. This is due to the fact that a single plant may support the growth of many herbivores like fruit eating birds, and each herbivore may provide nutrition to several parasites, which are mainly bugs and lice, which in turn are themselves supporting many hyperparasites like bacteria, fungi, etc. Thus, from the producer towards consumer level, there is a reverse position, that is, the number of organisms gradually shows an increase at successive trophic levels, making the pyramid inverted in shape. Actually, the pyramid of numbers does not give a true picture of the food chain as they are not very functional. They do not indicate the relative effects of the geometric food chain and size factors of the organisms. Generally, the pyramid of numbers varies with different communities with different types of food chains in the same environment. It thus becomes sometimes very difficult to represent the whole community on the same numerical scale. Pyramid of numbers say nothing about the amount of energy moving through the ecosystem. For example, a rabbit eats many blades of grass, but in pyramid of numbers, this is not true for all types of food chains as in case of parasitic food chain. Number 2, pyramid of biomass. Pyramid of biomass records the total dry organic matter of organisms at each trophic level in a given area of an ecosystem. A pyramid of biomass indicates how much biomass is present in each trophic level at any one time. It is the total mass, not the size of the organisms at each trophic level. Thus, biomass is related to the abundance of organisms at each trophic level. Pyramids of biomass are comparatively more fundamental because instead of geometric factor, they show the quantitative relationship of the standing crops. In general, the pyramid of biomass gives the rough picture of the overall effect of the food chain relationships for the ecological group as a whole. The pyramid of biomass may be upright or inverted depending upon the type of food chain involved. For example, in grassland and forest ecosystems, there is generally a gradual decrease in biomass of organisms at successive trophic levels from the producers to the top carnivores, forming upright pyramid. However, in case of pond ecosystem, the producers are small organisms as phytoplankton or small diatoms. Their biomass is quite negligible as compared to the small herbivore fish that feeds on them. The biomass of large carnivore fish feeding on small fish is still higher, forming the apex of the pyramid, thus making the pyramid inverted in shape. Number 3, pyramid of energy. Pyramid of energy indicates the total amount of energy present in each trophic level. Here, the number and weight of organisms at any level depends not on the amount of fixed energy present at any one time in the level just below it, but rather on the rate at which food is being produced. Of the 3 ecological pyramids, the energy pyramids gives the best picture of overall nature of an ecosystem. In contrast with the pyramid of numbers and biomass, which are pictures of the standing situations, the pyramid of energy is a picture of the rates of passage of food mass through the food chain. At successive trophic levels, there is a huge loss of energy of about 90%, and this decrease of energy from one trophic level to the another is due to the conversion of potential energy into kinetic energy and heat energy. Only 10% of the overall energy is transferred from one trophic level to the next trophic level, which is commonly referred as 10% law. The pyramid of energy is always upright, as there is always a gradual decrease in the energy content at successive trophic levels from the producers to various consumers. Producers manufacture their own food sourced directly from sunlight by the process of photosynthesis. In order to carry out life functions, consumers acquire energy through the burning or breaking down of food molecules they consume from producers. Thermal energy or heat energy is produced as a result of burning of these food molecules, and more than half of the energy from each food molecule is lost as heat. For instance, in terrestrial ecosystem, the quantity of energy trapped by green plants in an area is highest and consequently decreases while moving from herbivores through secondary consumers to the top carnivores, forming an upright pyramid. And similar is the case with aquatic ecosystems. Let us consider the example of food chain for showing loss of energy from one trophic level to another according to 10% law. The food chain involves grass, grasshopper, frog, snake and hog. Suppose grasses contain 10,000 joules of energy, then according to 10% law at grasshopper level there will be only 1000 joules of energy available, and similarly 100 joules at frog level, 10 joules at snake level and 1 joule at top carnivore level. This type of food chain occurs in grassland. Thus, from the above example, it is clear that more energy is available at first trophic level, and as we move from producer level towards the successive trophic levels, the amount of energy goes on decreasing, thereby depicting that smaller food chains are efficient than larger ones in terms of energy. Today, we discussed the concept of ecological pyramid, which is a graphical representation depicting the number of organisms, biomass and productivity at each trophic level, beginning with the producers at the bottom and proceed through the different trophic levels. Hence, ecological pyramids give the best representation of food chains and food webs in an ecosystem. That is all we have from today's lecture. Thank you for watching.